Productive Pastor 54, the 1 hour reset. Welcome back to Productive Pastor, y'all. Chad here. Hope your week is going great. Always release on a Thursday. You know, I love Thursday releases. Sometimes I think about a question Thursday releases, but I like Thursday releases. Just kind of the end of the week. The week is running down to that backside of things, and you're heading into the weekend. And, you know, you might be at the end of the week saying, Chad, you know, some stuff's kind of is squirrely over here. I need to do some work before next week. I've got a lot going on, that sort of stuff. And we're going to talk about that today, talking about the 1 hour reset. This is going to be like a super 101 approach to this sort of thing. Now, if you've done the 515 email course, it's a free email course I have. The link is in the show notes, revchadbrooks.com/PPP/054. You might be saying, Chad, that sounds kind of alike. And you know what? They might be a little bit, but this is some 101. It's also some different things from the 515. You know, the 515 is about 5 days in a row of 15-minute intentional tasks to gain clarity over your schedule and your ministry. The 101 here is the reset. This is when you're like, okay, things are absolutely cattywampus. I just need to get the ducks in a row in order to even know what might be proceeding forward. That's what we're going to talk about today. The 1 hour reset. It's going to be 4 15-minute blocks. And so just encourage you to sit back, think about what this might look like. You might need this on Monday morning. You might not need this for 6 months. You can kind of come back into the podcast archives and grab it for when you need it. Or it just might give you some tips and some ways to think about how you order your own life and schedule and ministry. So, the 1 hour reset. We're going to do this in 4 steps, 4 ways. But think about this, like what is going on in your life that like cognitively makes you think that you need to reset? You know, for me, it's when I just feel absolutely overwhelmed and I don't know what to do, or I feel like every single thing has piled up and I've neglected things, or I've been anxious, or all the kind of stuff. But for some odd reason, you're at a place where you need to just kind of hit a reset. You know, some of these things come out of a lot of one-on-one coaching I do with people, and realizing that you've got folks or you've got things that you just need to get sorted out in order to move forward. And a lot of that kind of comes from this space. But the first step, if you're going to put a 1 hour reset, you're going to spend 15 minutes on this. You're going to triage your email. One of the things I love and I hate the most about modern email services, and I use Gmail for everything almost, is I've got 100 gigs of storage space. I don't have to keep my email as trim as you used to. Remember back in the day when you only had like 200 megabytes on Hotmail? I mean, my first email address I got in 1997, and it was very, very different from what email is right now. But, you know, triage your email. You know, you're going to go through and you're going to go into the email, because I don't know about you, but a lot of times I use my email inbox as some sort of weird task inbox. And so I leave things sitting on there. So what you're going to do first is you're going to go through and you're going to find what is immediately necessary. Like these are the things that you need to do no matter what. These might be those tasks that for some odd reason you've been putting off or procrastinating or being anxious about that have gotten you into the conundrum where you need a 1 hour reset. But you need to go in and you need to find what's immediately necessary and then make a list. And I would say no more than 5. If you've got more than 5 things that are immediately necessary and like absolutely urgent, important, the whole 9 yards, then you might need a little bit more than a 1 hour reset to do this. But, you know, pick the 5 things that you know you have to deal with, respond to, create, that sort of a thing. No more than 5, okay? Then I want you to do one thing, and this can sound terrifying, and I encouraged somebody to do this a couple of weeks back, and they audibly gasped when I brought it up. But I'm bringing this up based off of modern email's ability to archive beautifully. But I want you to do what's called declaring email bankruptcy. I want you to hit that tab and don't delete everything, but archive everything. You know, you've gone in, you found the things that are immediately necessary. You've made your list of no more than 5 things that are critical for you to remember to do, to think about, to move forward. And then I want you to declare email bankruptcy, and I want you to archive every single thing. I'm doing this because there's something about cleaning out that email inbox and it being absolutely fresh that's going to give you some clarity of mind. Because if you're like me, what the email inbox is full of is actually not important things. The last time I did this a few weeks ago, I went in ahead and kind of declared email bankruptcy. I had like 40-something emails in there. I went and I grabbed what was important, and then I archived the whole 9 yards. Just wholesale, click all, or select all and do it. Because I had like unanswered emails that were like from Readwise, I hadn't done my daily review, or from a couple of email newsletters that I let immediately go into my inbox I hadn't paid attention to. It was all like really, really non-important things. And then there was some direct lines of communication or some updates or that sort of a stuff. Because like you have to think about what role does email play? Or you might be like me, like you know how many unread messages you have in your inbox. And you're clicking to see, not just what's at the top, just, how many new unreads do I have? And you kind of try to keep it at that level. All those sorts of things, You realize that very rarely now are people putting things in front of us email-wise that are truly urgent, important, and we need to be responsive to. So declaring email bankruptcy was one way of just clearing out the mental space that turns into visual space that you can see. Now, here's the thing. You can also do the exact same thing with voicemails and text messages. It's not as easy to clear those notifications out as it is with like Gmail. But you're not declaring things as unimportant here. What you're doing is you're creating new cognitive space. So take 15 minutes to go through, to do a true triage. If you've got more than 2 weeks of emails in there, I would say those 5 things need to come from the last 2 weeks. That sort of stuff. Like you don't want to be known as a person that does not get back to people. That's tremendously frustrating. And it's something that I'm personally am trying to work on as much as I can. So that's the first thing you do, 15 minutes, triage your email. The second thing, and this actually goes back to an episode not too long ago with Productive Pastor, was, episode 47, I think, about the Sunday review or the Sunday preview. And I'm going to say, just go in and take 15 minutes to answer the questions that were part of that. I talked about episode 47. I'll link to that in the show notes. You want to go listen to the whole episode, but really, 3 questions. I'll tell y'all, answering these 3 questions can create so much clarity and help you understand how you move forward. Just so much. 3 questions. What's the most important thing for me to be doing? What's the most important thing for me to start doing? And what's the most important thing for me to finish doing? I'm telling y'all, those 3 questions, they're absolutely everything. And they get so much clarity. I believe in those 3 questions so much because they guide us into making sure we're spending time on what we need to be spending time on. So that's the second thing, second 15 minutes, 5 minutes for each one, those 3 questions. The third thing is this. This is where we're going to go to your calendar, okay? And a lot of times we can get just so overwhelmed with calendar. Also, there's this idea, and it shows up a lot in Productive Pastor community, the private Facebook community, where people are like, what is the ideal week for a pastor? And there's an article that's been shared several times. I'll link to it in the show notes. Can't think off the top of my head, but it has a pastor kind of going through and blocking out their ideal week. And it's helpful in some ways. I think the other ways maybe it's not, and I'm speaking a little bit to my own tribe here. I know a pretty decent amount of Productive Pastor listeners are in the United Methodist Church, and I coach primarily United Methodist pastors. I would say 75% of my coaching clients are United Methodist pastors. I will come in and say that if you are Methodist or you're in the main line, you are doing an inordinately more amount of administrative tasks than if people are in like a non-denominational or a Baptist or a free church environment. This is just conversations and experience. And so that's why I think this person's article is a little frustrating, because they don't assume the administrative load that I know, the average pastor of a normal sized Methodist or Presbyterian church has. So the caveats there, you can go read the article. It's in the show notes. It's a great article, seriously great article. And I'm going to kind of follow a little bit of their trajectory with what I tell you to do. But, pull out your calendar, go to week view or get out a piece of paper or something like that. But you need to think about your week and really, truly what's left of your week if you're kind of having to do this on like a Wednesday afternoon, that sort of thing. So the first thing I want you to do in your calendar is block out your sermon time. That needs to be the thing that is preeminently the most important thing in your calendar. If you have no time during the week and you're unintentionally and don't have a theological reason to be writing a Saturday night special, you need to block out your sermon time. And you only you're realistic about how much time do you need to do that. So your calendar, first thing you do, block out your sermon time. The second thing you're going to do in your calendar is you're going to block out the time to do the things that were part of your 3 questions. Remember, most important to start, most important to finish. Block out the time to work on those 3 questions. The next thing you want to do is you want to schedule time to do the things, those 5 things that were in your email that you made a list of. And I imagine some of that might be really, really quick. It might take you 20 seconds to do the task. You've just been putting it off for some mental reason or whatever. Okay, but you're going to block out your sermon time, block out time to hit those things that are on your 3 questions, and then to hit the things on that 5 things list from your email. And the last is block out your essential meetings. So, hey, do I have time? Do I have a staff meeting or some sort of church meeting coming up that's absolutely essential for me to be at? Blocking those times out. Take 15 minutes to do that, because that's going to show you where your margin is. And your schedule better than anybody else. If you typically have tons and tons of essential meetings, you might want to do that after you block out your sermon time, because what you're trying to find here is margin to focus on these things that you've discerned and declared to be extremely important. The three questions or the top 5 things that come out of your email list, that sort of stuff. You're finding time to focus on those things, and your schedule and processes enough to get that done. So you spent your third 15-minute block there. Now your fourth one, I want you to do this. Now this is going to be the space of evaluation. Okay, why do you feel like you are having to do this? Or you might be asking the question, why are these things that you've declared and discerned to be primary tasks that are essential to getting you reset back in the place you need to be? Why are those things being neglected, or why are they overwhelming you? That sort. Just learn to ask yourself why. You might want to explore where your overwhelm is coming from and put it down on paper. Y'all, there is tremendous power putting these things down on paper. That's why we've got a whole last 15-minute block for this sort of stuff. You might be saying, I'm just really, really busy. Or you might be saying, I'm overwhelmed. Or you might be saying, hey, I'm burned out. I'm hitting exhaustion to a dangerous point. You might just be saying, wow, you know what? I just have really bad planning. Like I let too many things on my schedule to be important this week. And I'm just having to now begin to rate and scale their level of importance. But the way you answer that question, why, will help you understand in the future when you're starting to do things to get yourself back into the same place. Listen, it's not bad to need a 1-hour reset. What's bad is to consistently need 1-hour resets every 2 weeks for the exact same reason. That's why we're thinking about this and focusing on this now. But dig deep into the why question. And then the last thing is this, begin to set boundaries around stuff. Begin to set boundaries around what you will do, boundaries around what you will not do. Because what I found out in my life, but also in the life of other people, so many times we get to a point where we need some level of reset because we're just doing a bunch of things that we really should not be doing. I was on a clarity consultation earlier this afternoon, and we were talking about a church's follow-up system, and like the first 5 steps of their follow-up system were completely dependent on the pastor of the church. And this is a church of probably 180, maybe even 200 active adults, and like way too much was going on. The pastor was doing at a critical space that they just shouldn't be doing. A lot of the stuff we talked about, the squeeze points, could be eliminated by a couple of quick systems and processes, taking advantage of their database, but then also someone else being able to go in and just put names and email addresses into a form and let the internet do the magical work that the internet does. And so just think about that. Declare, what will you do and what will you not do? So this is a kind of a 101 list, and a way for us to understand when we just have too much going on. Like I said earlier, I talked about it at the front end of the episode. We've got the 515 email class. That's free. Gets delivered straight to your email inbox. If you sign up for it like on a Thursday afternoon, you get the first real email on Monday morning. That's how it's designed to do. It's designed to do as the space throughout the week. And that's a 201 look at stuff. But 2 options you have right there coming out of Productive Pastor for just what do you do when you need to recenter and refocus your week. And this is one that you can knock out in the space of an hour over lunch one day. Get yourself back on track, hit the reset button like when you used to play Super Mario Brothers, and right before you're about to die, you hit reset and you get to start over again. That's a good thing. You get to do this. And like I said earlier, it's okay to need to do a reset. What's not okay is to have to do a reset for the exact same reason repeatedly, time after time after time again. So invite you to come hang out, Productive Pastor Community over on Facebook. We've got over 1,000 pastors there having an intentional conversation about living a productive life in ministry. As always, I'm Chad Brooks. I'm honored to steward this community, to be part of folks here for almost 10 years. And we'll be back in the next episode next Thursday.